Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with the live coverage of GP Paris. We have reached all the way to the semi-finals. My name's Riley. You're in my capable hands, along with Simon Gertzen from Germany. It's a great pleasure to have your company around the world, wherever you are, joining us here for the top 8 of this tournament. On the left-hand side of your screen, we have Kyoung Soo Kim. He's playing red aggro, 21 mountains in his build. Good to see him, along with Zan Syed on green-white Collected Company. Simon Gertzen.
Yes, the Collected Company, a card that has been waiting to make its breakthrough in Standard. And Zan Syed dispatched one mono-red opponent already in the quarterfinals. So now the question is if Kyoung Soo Kim's interesting take on mono-red is better suited to fight that fight.
So you can see Zan Syed almost off to the perfect start there. However, his Elvish Mystic off the turn 1 Forest ate a Searing Blood, and that's a pretty good answer to the 1/1.
Yeah, multiple Searing Bloods I've seen multiple times deal 6 damage when offing, for example, an Offensa or a Corsair of Crufix.
Let's talk about Kim's deck here, because he's gone a bit bigger with the red decks, and he's chosen some rather interesting cards. We've got some 1-drops like Lightning Berserker and Zergo Bellstriker, but completely foregoing Foundry Street Denizen.
No Foundry Street Denizen, no Token Makers, and no Goblin Rebel Master either. So this is a completely new mono red deck that's playing Titan Strength and for Thunderbreak Regent instead. So I almost want to call it old school mono red, but then you add in the powerful 4-drop dragon that's just barely affordable for a mono red deck.
Yeah, that's right. With only 21 lands in the deck for Kyoung Soo Kim, it's not a guarantee that he's going to be able to cast it, but we see the very timely 4/4 entering the battlefield just when it's meant to, and here Deathmist Raptor able to attack through it thanks to Death Touch.
Yeah, Deathmist Raptor has been kind of the talk of the tournament. The Megamorph synergy between Den Protector and Deathmist Raptor, but also some other morphs and Megamorphs certainly triggering the Raptor.
Corsair of Crufix, the play for Zan Syed, revealing Master of the Unseen. He's going to be able to gain some life if he's got a land in his hand, and I see a few in there, Windswept Heath amongst them, along with a Forest. Good to see Zan Syed correctly choosing the best art out of all of the Zendikar lands here for his Forest. Unfortunately not with the Plains, coming in third. Kyoung Soo Kim all over the place with his basic land selection, but the Dragons certainly a good choice here as they come in. Look at that, double Thunderbreak Regent.
That's very difficult, even for a green-white deck. That's probably pretty crushing towards the cheaper red aggro decks because of Corsair of Crufix, Master of the Unseen, and just a great curve topped by Collected Company. But when you look at what's going on here, Kyoung Soo Kim is attacking Zan's life total very aggressively, and the Thunderbreak Regents really play a pivotal role in that.
Very difficult to remove. Zan Syed's going to have a bit of a headache trying to race them or outpace them. And really, even in this case, I mean, targeted removal, not the most relevant thing when it comes to a green-white deck, but removing these, you're going to get a real spanking from them.
Yeah, now a card like Valorous Stance will deal 6 damage to you if you want to cast it. So that's very, very bad news for Zan.
And it's a steep price to pay.
I'm really curious if this might be an alternative to the Artarka Red or even Mono Red Swarm strategies that we've seen, because the metagame has adapted. We see so many Bioblights, we see so many Drown-in Swords, especially after sideboarding, that this whole plan of I'll get 7-8 creatures and just Artarka's command you out of the game is not that attractive anymore. So now you're playing a deck and your opponents will bring in Hornet Nest, and you play Thunderbreak Regent.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a nice little counterplay there. It might be time to go a little bit bigger. These big red decks that we've seen in the past. Thundermaw Hellkite often was the curve topper of these big red decks of yesteryear, and now plenty of red dragons flying around, Simon.
Yeah, not quite big red, but medium-sized red.
Medium red, shall we say? Here comes Courser of Krufix. Interesting attack along with the Death Mist Raptor. Zan Syed maybe being a bit cheeky here, trying to get some extra damage in. Sounding out his opponent's intentions, seeing if we're going to get a block so they can be punished.
Yeah, the question is with which card. Warden, Dromoker's Command only puts a +1/+1 counter on the Courser. Then there might be some fighting going on, but that doesn't look too attractive.
No, 6 life. Again, a steep price to pay.
Maybe the double command, and Zan seeing no other way of dealing with the dragons, racing the dragons otherwise. Dromoker's Command and Hornet Nest, by the way, a super sweet combo after sideboarding. Always good to ask the tough questions. You know, it's, do you block my Courser? It drains some of the mental energy from your opponent.
Yeah, that's right, and we see Kim here really considering whether it's a block he wants to make. In the end, he goes for it. And we'll see what Syed has to say about it. He's going to shuffle away the Death Mist Raptor from the top of his library and search out a basic. He finds a Plains. There's a Courser on top.
1.
So, +1/+1 counter on the Courser of Krufix.
Now, is Zan going to fight? I don't think that's what he wants to do. Oh, he does. Taking 6 in the process? I wasn't expecting that.
And here is Dromoker's Command number 2. Put a +1/+1 counter and make you sack an enchantment. So life total being confirmed there. 6 damage, a steep price to pay. However, Zan Syed has cleared the board apart from this rather hefty 4/6 Courser of Krufix.
Yeah, that's of course a great trend. The double command was what he was representing, and Kyoung Soo Kim, knowing the deck list, could basically know that, because there aren't, well, there could have been maybe a just a way to protect the attacking Courser, for example, with Valorous stance, but that wouldn't have been a very smart attack in that case. So double command it was, and Zan actually opts to trade his Death Mist Raptor just to make sure that there's no more attacks on the other side of the board.
In comes the 4/6. Smash Kim down to 13. Kim draws a card. He's got Eidolon of the Great Revel sitting in his hand. And there it is.
Yeah, but there's an active Mastery of the Unseen on the other side of the table. Even manifesting Death Mist Raptor, that means it can be turned up for a colorless and 2 green.
So we might see a bit of play here from Kim, and we see Searing Blood is going to take Xan Sed down to 3. Or down to 6 after 3 damage is done to him. Take care of that Death Mist Raptor. Of course, as soon as another Manifest or Amorphous flipped up, those Death Mist Raptors are coming straight back to the party. Valorous stands the draw for Syed.
Yeah, Syed is checking out his Raptor count. He really wants to morph or manifest a creature, so I would expect him to draw the Valorous stance, hoping to find a creature on top of his deck. And that's very likely because he can play any land he has on top, and then there's a good chance that he hits a creature.
3 goes more or less to get that done.
Look, we are looking for just one more player for our next Chaos Draft.
There's a second Courser of Krufix. That's going to cost him 2 life, but it's going to gain him 2 life as well. And Den Protector on the top. Zan Syed up to 8.
Yeah, I think Kyoung Soo Kim forgot his Eidolon trigger. Okay.
And the old Game 1 handshake, there it is.
After winning, too.
After having won. The winner's handshake on Game 1. Very interesting piece of technique there from the Green-White Mage. These guys going to hit their sideboards. Let's have a look at what's going on here. Zan Syed with his green-white company deck. He's got access to 3 copies of Plummet, 2 Hornet's Nest, 3 Arishan Clerics, 2 Elspeths, 2 Whisperwood Elementals, and a Reclamation Sage. A lot of cards in there that could come in and wreak some havoc there.
Yeah, the big question is Plummet going to show up to the party? Because the Thunderbreak regions are certainly the most scary cards. So Arishan Cleric, I think, is a pretty easy winner there. Whisperwood Elemental might make an appearance. If you're afraid of Outpost Siege, you might want to board in Reclamation Sage. So this is really a game where both players have all the information, and the task is certainly in Kyoung Soo Kim's on Kyoung Soo Kim's side to somehow not allow the green-white company deck, which is kind of built to beat mono red, not to take another game.
Let's have a look at the sideboard of Kim's deck here. 3 Roasts, 3 Outpost Sieges, 3 Scorching Sands, 3 Bathe in Dragonfire, and 3 Arc Lightnings. As satisfying as it is to see the 15-card sideboard that's comprised solely of 3 drops. A range of options open here to Kim.
Yes, there's the Roast and the Bathe in Dragonfire, which should be good against some of the larger creatures by Zan, especially if he also brings in the Whisperwood Elementals. However, playing 1-for-1 removal against the deck with 4 Collected Company and 3 Mastery of the Unseen is also a pretty good way to lose the game. So one of the big questions to me is how to deal with the Hornet Nests if you expect them to come in, and if you can rely on your Thunderbird regions to actually win the game in the air.
Ryan Libera stepped across. He's got a result from the feature match area, I imagine.
Yeah, Amon Dosimon, the Belgian, playing Abzan aggro, is up a game against Abzan control. Yeah, Simon Gerson is like, well, duh. This was supposed to happen. This was actually a longer game than one would expect when Abzan aggro was winning, but it was a Fleece main Lion that went to monstrosity that Antonio Del Moral was not able to handle. So 1-0 to the Belgian player.
I imagine Moran's happy about that. I imagine Zimon's happy about that. His deck is getting in there as an Abzan aggro aficionado.
I just believe in the deck, and I'm not surprised, and that's kind of the beauty of the standard format. Abzan control or mid-range does not necessarily beat Abzan aggro.
It looks like Xan Sed has actually sideboarded out some interesting cards there. I saw the Valorous Stances coming out, not too difficult to predict that. However, the Death Mist Raptors seem to be hitting the sideboard here.
Oh, not going for the late game option of going for the Megamorph synergies. I can't help to think that even though Kyoung Soo Kim's list is really nice, given what people are prepared for this tournament, the green-white Collected Company deck is just one step too far above mono red. If you lose to mono red or red green with the green-white Company deck, something has gone wrong.
Yeah, it seems to have a range of ways to buffer its life total, to play defense in a very effective manner. I mean, Hidden Dragon Slayers are in the main as a way to gain life. We have other things, of course, coming out of the board. Arishan Cleric is a good blocker in this instance, and of course Hornet Nest does a great job of really playing a containment game of these.
Yeah, and you have the 4 Fleece mainline. You have an almost painless mana base, different from Abzan, very different from Abzan.
Mm-hmm.
You have 3 Droneworker's Command in the main deck. Warden of the First Tree threatens to gain lifelink. 4 Courser of Prefix are a big deal. 3 Master of the Unseen mean that the late game is certainly not one you're losing. So this deck looks great against aggressive strategies, and if you get the Collected Company Mastery of the Unseen advantage going against control or other late game oriented strategies, you're also in for a very good matchup.
Yeah, certainly the green-white Company deck has a lot of game against aggro here. But Kyoung Soo Kim's, as we say, a step ahead, as we mentioned, with some interesting cards that are really punishing an opponent who isn't prepared for this sort of thing. Flamewake Phoenix is a way to recur damage, and of course it can keep being brought back with stuff like the Thunderbreak region.
Yeah, what I'm not sure about is how he's going to approach the matchup. He's going to be on the play next game, so Eidolon of the Great Level definitely looks very strong. But how important is going to be? Is it going to be to deal damage on the ground? How important is it going to be to take things to the air? And what are his sideboard cards of choice? Almost all of them, maybe Arc Lightning not so much, but Rose, Bathe in Dragonfire, Outpost Siege, and Scouring Sands are all viable options in my opinion. It depends on what exactly you expect. So yeah, maybe not the Scouring Sands.
The Scouring Sands, of course, Scouring Sands a 2-cost sorcery that deals 1 damage to each opponent, each creature your opponent controls. A couple of 1/1s or X1s to be picked off there with that, but certainly, as you say, these removal spells are reasonably well positioned to.
The problem is, it's great if your opponent starts on 2 Elvish Mystics and you get the blowout, or if the Warden of the first 3 stays a 1/1 for some reason. But all of this is not very likely. Also, if your opponent passes with a few mana up, with an active mastery or a collected company up, yeah, Scouring Sands is just not what you want to have.
Yeah, kind of embarrassing. That's right. Outpost Siege, however, a card that I mean, this game might go long enough for that card to really shine.
That would be my, at least from a commentator perspective or from a viewer perspective, that would be my the most interesting to see if. The how do we call it, mid-sized red?
Yeah,
if the medium red actually gets to play a long game against a deck that's favored on paper, but the 3 Outpost Sieges somehow make the difference whether Kyoung Soo Kim runs out of gas or not. And then there's always the threat of Dromoka's Command just lurking above everything.
Yeah, that really makes the stock of sort of enchantments here and there going down. We've discussed this a little bit this weekend, Zimon, the fact that random enchantments can just kind of be picked off and sort of enable an easier 2-for-1 situation when you're playing with cards like against cards like
I was about to call Dromoka's Command Kyoung Soo Kim's sort of Damocles, but in this case, it's your opponent wielding the sword, so
not so much hanging above his head as being very angrily wielded towards him.
Bit of a different scenario.
Kim examining his opening hand, Syed doing the same, and they seem to both like where they're at. So we see a Monastery Swiftspear hurrying into the red zone here, but it's being met with a 1-drop as well on the part of Syed. Syed exactly where he wants to be. Turn 1, Elvish Mystic, go. Kim pauses to consider his options. He can strike the Mystic and get in for 2. Often wanting to keep your opponent off the elf.
It makes a big difference whether you allow a turn 2 Corsair of Krufix or not, especially if you don't happen to have a Roast available. Quite interesting to me, the 3 Roast, 3 Bathe and Dragonfire split, where it's kind of the common approach of red mages to just favor Roast above pretty much any other burn spell.
So we see Kim commit to the Lightning Strike. That means that the Swiftspear is going to get in for 2.
Yeah, with 3 Lightning Strikes in hand, that's not really a difficult decision. Can you spot the 4th card in Kim's hand?
It's red.
Yeah, there's 2 Lightning Strikes and a Thunderbreak region. We'll find out soon enough.
Mountain the draw for Kim.
Interesting decision here already. Do you cast the Lightning Strike for 4 damage? And Kyoung Soo Kim does, which I think is absolutely correct with his hand.
Once again, we see Kim untapping with the Monastery Swift Spear. And it looks like we have an attack. Difficult to block it with the Courser of Crewfix. Freshly cast, of course, by Syed, because another lightning strike, which we know Kim has in his hand, will dispatch the Courser in short order. But no, he's happy enough to take it. Here's Thunderbreak Regent. Looks like Kim has the final card maybe as a Bathe in Dragonfire.
Yeah, but Bathe in Dragonfire would also have been a very nice play this turn. So a difficult decision already, whether to kill the Courser to get in for another 2 points, or deploy the powerful 4-drop, which is almost guaranteed to deal 7 damage at the least. Maybe more. Thunderbreak Regent is the card you want to see in this matchup. On turn 4, of course.
And here we see the power of being on the play, with Kim really curving out in a way that has definitely put Syed on the back foot and positioned himself well to take this game out.
With a draw that has had a single 1-drop and 3 removal spells, so we can't even call it an aggro deck in the traditional sense. No. It's much different from the token-based red and Atarka red strategies. Zan might have been faking his mana troubles a little bit. He held back the Windswept Heath because of the Courser of Crewfix interaction, but could have easily cast any kind of spell he wanted.
Plains gets fetched up with that Windswept Heath. And Marijn Leibert joins us once again with another update from the floor.
And our Pro Tour winner Antonio Del Moral knocks himself back into the race. He wins game 2 against Amon Docimon. Amon, stuck on 3 lands, could not handle an Elspeth Suns champion and her soldier. So they're going to game 3, and who will be they facing in the finals?
Thanks for the update there, Marijn. A hardcast Den Protector joining the battlefield here for Syed,
who's holding up green-white, so potentially a Drawmorcast command. But does he have ways to deal with the pressure in the air here? Take 6? No. Certainly not.
Plummet. There you go. Very easy to bring that in from the board. It's got a lot of targets in the deck piloted by Kim, and so that's going to take care of the Thunderbreak Regent. But of course, going to hit him for 3 as a result.
Ooh.
Dromaker's command into Dromaker's command.
Even more lands, so...
Gaining 2 life as well from the Blossoming Sands, thanks to the Courser of Crewfix. So this game, very, very interestingly poised.
Yeah, I think Kyoung Soo Kim is feeling this game slipping away from him already. His Flamebreak Phoenix is barely keeping up with the advantage generated by Courser of Crewfix. Zan even feeling happy here to attack with Den Protector, not what you want to see. If Kyoung Soo Kim doesn't have more flyers, I don't see how he's going to deal enough damage to win it. And you wouldn't even be happy about drawing Outpost Siege at this stage.
No, of course, with your opponent on double Dromoka's command. I mean, even having the burn spells in his hand, he knows that his opponent has an effective counter for any of the red instants or sorcerers he wants to point at his opponent or his creatures. So Syed slowly taking the wheel from Kim.
I believe that the Courser of Crewfix should have died, had to die for Kyoung Soo Kim to really make a
make a game of this.
Make more of a game of it. It's there are ways to draw out of this situation, but every turn that goes by with an active Courser is going to favor Zan tremendously. He might even tap out for Collected Company. Even if he loses the Demokas command on top of his deck, he will just kill Kyoung Soo Kim as early as 2 turns from now.
In comes the Flamewake Phoenix. And a second plummet is going to deal with the Phoenix.
Yeah, very nice sideboarding. And he's punishing the line taken by Kyoung Soo Kim just very harshly, because Kyoung Soo Kim knows how important the flyers are, decided, do I kill the Corsair or do I deploy my flyers? He went with the latter, and then Zan reveals not one but two of the sideboarded plummets, and is just basically not allowing himself to get in range of any kind of burn spell.
Kim sitting on Bathe in Dragonfire and Lightning Strike, cards that Syed will effectively be able to counter with a double Dromoka's Command that he has in hand. Here's Windswept Heath.
Yeah, he's not only able to counter them, but he's able to 2-for-1 them.
Yeah.
With the +1/+1 and fight, or any other combination, or the prevent damage and fight. This is, if this is really a Bathe in Dragonfire, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it is. Then Kyoung Soo Kim is at the very latest now regretting not to have cast it on turn 3.
Mm-hmm. Away goes the Windswept Heath. Syed going to fetch up a Plains. There it is. And reveal Forest. So, back where he started. Thinking about attacking, and the Den Protector's going to come in. Kim can't block that one.
Kyoung Soo Kim also checking the time on his watch, checking if it's maybe time to time to leave this tournament.
Here's a Lightning Strike. Going upstairs very emphatically. There's an opportunity for Syed to cash in one of his Dromoka's commands there. Counter, fight your dude. Away it goes. Kim draws. Dromoka's command, the old counterspell Doomblade split card. Fuse card, even.
You know how they say always bolt the bird?
Mm.
I think always bathe the Corsair.
Always bathe the Corsair.
Maybe doesn't sound as nicely, but
doesn't roll off the tongue, no.
Oh, it's not Bathe in Dragonfire. It's Arc Lightning.
It's Arc Lightning.
That explains a lot. But Arc Lightning, I think, quite a surprising card to bring in this matchup. Yeah, this is slaughter, and Kyoung Soo Kim knows it. He's played all his cards. He's left with only mountains.
So some absolutely savage 2-for-1s here, and here is Collected Company.
Yeah, why draw that forest? Oh yeah, very precise here.
Oh yes.
He's been doing this all tournament.
That's right. Sid knows exactly what's up. We see an Arishan Cleric amongst them, an Elvish Mystic.
Yeah, even with a weak Collected Company, you still get 2 power, 4 defense, and 3 life.
And I think Kim is just going through the motions here. The writing is on the wall.
Oh, and we see some clapping in the background. That must have been game 3 between Moral Leon and the Belgian. Let's see what Maren thinks of that result.
And we have our second finalist as well. It is Amon Dossimon from Belgium. He had the perfect draw in game 3. 2-drop, Anafenza, Siege Rhino, Suicide is Anafenza, play another copy of Anafenza, and then a top-decked Rhino to finish the deal. So Amon Dossimon, he will be facing off the green-white company deck in the finals.
That's right, Morin Libert very much on top of things as we see the end of the semi-finals. very, very quickly coming to a close there. The 1-2 punch, and congratulations to Zan Syed, our second finalist here at GP Paris. That's the way the cookie crumbles, ladies and gentlemen. That's how things have shaken out, and the finals are coming your way before very much longer. It's time for us to collect our little company here, Simon, and get things ready for the finals of GP Paris. More standard action coming your way. It's very, very good to see a deck that hasn't been on everyone's radar, a deck that I think is worthy of the support of the recognition it's getting now in Green White Collected Company, joining a mainstay of the format in the form of Xan Aggro, the Xan Menace, of course, finding its way to the top tables. The finals are coming your way before very much longer. Ximon, need I ask you for the hot tip on who's your favourite?
Xan Aggro.
Xan Aggro. Xan Aggro, just quietly, ladies and gentlemen, who